Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Satan and Coffee. Hope you're all having a wonderful hump day. I mean, for as wonderful as I guess it could be on a Wednesday. Hello. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. We got Disciple, Rogue, Operation Crossroads, Mr. Grimm, of course, Maeve. Hope everyone's having a great. I think I need to change the LUT because the LUT seems to be acting weird. Oh, that's why it's acting weird. Okay. So, because it's like almost like there's black and white, and then like it's doing something weird with the coloring, and I have no idea why. I have no idea why it's being so fucking weird. The coloration here. See if we can do a quick one to fix it. Someone emits high levels of radiation. Yeah, probably. But I mean, I have a lot of LUTs that I use. Ooh, that is very horror movie-esque now, isn't it? I'm just like clicking random ones right now just to see if like I can get like better coloration. Gold look. Ooh, it's so grainy. What the hell? I don't know like what's what. Like they're just like my dumbass didn't like organize any of them. I just kind of threw them all into like, I guess it's a little bit better. It's a little bit high contrast, but eh. So I just kind of threw him in and just said, screw it. And just like, it doesn't matter. You know, like, this kind of has like a horror movie kind of vibe to it, I suppose. I just threw them into one folder. And so I've got like something around like, I think 70, 80 LUTs, and I just have no idea what they do. Like, it's just, it's like just a little roulette, just kind of like luck of the draw. You might get a good one, you might not, so, but this I guess is kind of works. I mean, again, it's a little high contrast, but I'll rock with it. So we're gonna be talking about this morning. So I actually got this whole thing all set up this morning at like 2 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't go to sleep so I take 2 doses of Ritalin a day, one in the morning when I first get up, and then one at about 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I forgot to take my 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon dose, and I thought it would be a great idea. Me being me, I thought it would be a wonderful idea to take my second dose at about 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. I'm like, well, I mean, I usually metabolize it between like 5 to 6 hours. Yeah, I didn't feel tired at all until like about 2 o'clock, 2:30 in the morning. And then even with that, like I still woke up at like 6:30. So yeah, not doing that again. Guarantee you by 3 o'clock this afternoon, I'm going to be like dead. Right? So that's going to be fun. So this morning, what we're going to be talking about Leviathan. So what I'm kind of doing is I'm kind of moving through the Infernal Compass and kind of going through kind of like each entity that is used in the Infernal Compass. We've talked about Lilith. I've talked about Baphomet ad nauseum. That's your 6th pillar right there. We've talked about Lucifer. I think we need to talk about Belial. I think is another one that'll be coming up soon. But this morning our focus is going to be Leviathan, right? And so to start this conversation out, it is important, as always, to discuss what the fuck something is. And in this case, what Leviathan actually is, right? So to start this out, in concept, Leviathan is an unconscious depth, not destruction. Leviathan gets framed as annihilation because people panic when they lose surface control. Depth feels like death to an ego, right? Addicted to clarity and speed. So in practice, Leviathan is not about tearing you apart. It's about holding what you refuse to face. So this current governs the unconscious mind, emotional memory, long-term pattern storage, right? Nothing is destroyed. It is contained. What you don't process, okay? And what you don't process, it sinks. It falls deeper into that depth, right? And what sinks further gains weight. So over time, that weight shapes behavior, identity, and reaction without asking your permission. So Leviathan does not destroy the self, it exposes how much of the self was never conscious to begin with. Okay. And the abyss as psychological and spiritual pressure. So the abyss is pressure, not chaos. Chaos is unstructured movement. Pressure is sustained force. And what Leviathan applies is emotional pressure, identity pressure, and meaning pressure. Okay. So under pressure, weak structures crack, strong structures compress and harden. This is why depth work rather feels suffocating to people who rely on avoidance, distraction, or performative spirituality. The abyss removes escape velocity. Okay. Spirituality, this pressure strips fantasy. Psychologically, it forces coherence. You either integrate what emerges or you fracture. There's no neutral outcome. Okay. Then, so Leviathan is interesting. I believe based on saying even those. Exactly, 100%. 100%. And I do think that Hellraiser kind of had like an interesting running concept. I don't want to say like a legitimate running concept, but they had an interesting one at the very least, right? So memory, emotion, and identity, right? Stored below awareness. Most of who you are is not your thoughts. It is in emotional responses, body memory, and repeated behavior under stress. Leviathan governs the storage layer. Experiences that were too intense, confusing, or contradictory to process consciously get pushed down. They do not disappear. They reorganize, right? And they reorganize you from below. So identity forms there. Beliefs calcify there. Fear learns its timing there. Depth work is not about remembering everything. It's about owning what already owns you. So it's about you being able to take ownership of what is already yours and controlling it and integrating it. Okay. So water, depth, and containment. Water holds without collapsing. It surrounds, it presses evenly. That is Leviathan's domain. Depth is not dramatic. It is quiet, constant, and inescapable. Once submerged, movement costs energy. That's the point. Containment matters because uncontained descent becomes disassociation. Leviathan work requires boundaries, ritual structure, and return paths. The abyss is not infinite. You are meant to come back, changed, not lost. And depth does not move fast. Fast change is cosmetic, slow change is structural. Leviathan reshapes by repetition, sustained reflection, and emotional digestion. This is why people quit depth work. There is no dopamine rush, no instant clarity, just the slow realization that your reactions are shifting before your beliefs catch up. If it feels boring, heavy, or uncomfortable, it is working. And I think that, like, working with Leviathan, especially in the sense of shadow work, is extremely important because of the fact that it works in this way that it is slow and methodical, right? And it changes structure. When you structurally change something, you change it essentially forever. When you change something cosmetically, you just have to wipe off the face and you're back to where you were to begin with. Mr. Grimm, I don't know why I just... Tubular, man. No, it's rock on, bro. I went to go like this, and for some reason it came out like this. Fucking ignore me. Mm. So there's also a word that I like to use a lot here, and I think I kind of have to explain this at least a little bit. So I use becoming a lot, right? And there's a reason I use becoming, right? There's only becoming. There is no map, only becoming. The reason I use that word so much is because I feel like it provides a direction of outcome without telling you what the outcome is, because for each and every one of you, the outcome is different. Right? So there is only becoming. Becoming what? No, it's becoming whatever the hell it is that you want to become. That's the point, isn't it? I think what a lot of people that do in the self-help space or in the coaching space or even in the occult space like to tell people where they're going, right? Like it sells more books that way, doesn't it? It sells more books when you have someone, some guru telling you where it is that you need to go, right? You need to go here and do this. Because that thing may, in that moment, align perhaps with what it is that you want in your life. And therefore you identify with whatever it is that they're selling you, and you buy more books, or you buy more courses, or you buy whatever the fuck it is that they're selling. Because what are they doing? They're telling you where you need to go. And how does this work? Why does this work? Well, everybody knows that this works. Steve Jobs built his entire fucking platform off of the fact that he understood that consumers didn't know what the fuck they wanted until he told them what they wanted. Right? Marketing and consumer-based culture is very much built around the idea is like people don't know what they need until you tell them what they need. And that is a form of psychological control. You create something and then you frame it as this thing that is the thing that you've been missing in your life to make your life valuable. Think about, for example, the old iPod ads. It's a very good example. If you think about the old iPod ads, and I know that I was a victim of this back then. Like, I mean, I used to be an Apple user. It was my first computer. My first computer that I owned myself was an eMac, not an iMac, an eMac. eMacs were a very rare breed, and they were very specific. There's an educational Mac, right? It was the first ones to actually have a DVD drive, believe it or not. But what are we looking at in this situation, so to speak, with this? If you look at the advertising for like the iPod or the Macs or stuff like that, right? And it is something that has bled over into today's advertising and practically anything and everything. They show you endless clips, half-a-second clips of hundreds of people using the software, using the computer, using the whatever, and being super productive or having a good time, right? That the lighting is perfect, life seems happy, everything's great. And that's that type of advertising, right? That's what it shows you. That's where they get their hooks into you, because then you look at those people, you look at those clips of people living their lives that way, and you're like, that's what I want to be. That's where I want to go. That's what I want to obtain. And that instills the idea in your mind, I need this thing, I need this software, I need this product, I need this coaching, I need whatever the hell this is to make my life like their life. And using the term becoming, I feel like, is antinomian to that. And the idea is that it is whatever it is you want to become. It's easier than being in control because it removes the weight of personal responsibility. Exactly. 100% Kesra. So using the term becoming, when I say becoming, the reason I use that term is because I don't want to sell you anything in the traditional sense of I have this product or this thing and you need this product or this thing for your life to be meaningful. You don't need anything that I'm giving you to have a meaningful life. Your life is meaningful as it is. The idea of becoming is simply just saying that whatever it is that you want to become in your life, maybe, possibly, there's something that I have or that I'm putting out there that might help. Maybe, possibly, maybe not. Who the fuck knows? But that's why I use becoming. And the reason we're going down this rabbit hole is because the next part is becoming is comprehensive, not explosive, right? So explosive transformation looks impressive and collapses easily. Comprehensive transformation increases density. So under compression, identity simplifies, contradictions resolve, false narratives collapse inward. You don't become louder, you become heavier, more stable, less reactive, harder to move against your will. That is becoming. Right? So, or it could be a part of becoming. And if you refuse depth, you stay fragile forever. Fragility comes from hollow structures. When life applies pressure, shallow systems shatter. People who avoid depth need constant reassurance, collapse under criticism, regress under stress, confuse comfort with stability. Depth gives you mass. Mass gives you resistance. Resistance gives you sovereignty. Leviathan does not make you kinder, happier, or purer. It makes you durable. And durability is the minimum requirement for anyone claiming self-mastery. Okay? So hopefully this is making sense about the whole Leviathan stage. So if we look at the pillar system that I've developed, the infernal compass, right? So if we look at the infernal compass, actually, let me just open it up really quick. I don't want to give away too many of the trade secrets, but just, I'm kidding. But I do kind of want to explain where Leviathan is relatively in the infernal compass, right? So the first pillar in the infernal compass is Lucifer. That's illumination. The second pillar in the infernal compass is Belial, and that's grounding. The next pillars in the system are Lilith and Asmodeus, right? So that's 3 and 4. So Lilith is liberation. Asmodeus is desire. And then after that, the fifth and second to last pillar, pillar 5, is Leviathan, depth, right? So, and I'll give you like the opening line here, the opening paragraph that I have for this particular pillar says Leviathan drags us into the depths where trauma, emotion, and primal power live. Here, you do the deep work, grief, emotional reprocessing, and unconscious patterning. It is not about healing, but understanding and integrating your primal nature. Right, is what the fifth pillar is about. Because through everything else, for the first 4 pillars, you're breaking everything down. You break down everything that you have hidden, been through, right? So with Lucifer being the first pillar, it is illumination. It's finding all the shit that you're not dealing with. That can drudge up a lot of bullshit, a lot of problems. That's why Belial's the second pillar, grounding. It grounds you, right? Like, so let's touch grass again. Let's kind of find our base, you know, with all the stuff that we're digging up. Then liberation is freeing yourself from the restraints of holding all of that shit in and finally becoming, you know, aware of it. Then desire is, let's refocus what we want out of our lives now that we understand all of this shit. And then the depth aspect is digging just a little bit deeper now that we have the first process done and we understand how that process works. We can repeat that process and we go into depth to create this mass, to create this immovable structure of self. And that's the last step before integration, which is Baphomet, right? Before we integrate, you know, everything that we've been dealing with, you know, we need to figure out how it becomes part of us. Okay. So that is where without depth, there's fragility, right? So the abyss versus modern spirituality, okay, is the next part. So surface spirituality avoids discomfort, right? So surface spirituality is built around mood management. So the goal is to feel good, stay calm, and maintain an image of peace. That's modern spirituality. That's modern social media spirituality, right? That's the shit that's dished out to you, okay? Discomfort is treated as failure, impurity, or low frequency, right? The hard work, the hard stuff. Low vibrational energy. Stupid, so fucking dumb. I hate that shit. That approach works exactly until real pressure shows up. So surface systems rely on affirmations instead of confrontation, aesthetic instead of embodiment, language instead of change. Anything that threatens the narrative gets reframed, denied, or blamed on external negativity. The moment life becomes sharp, the system collapses. Not because it's immoral, because it's shallow, right? Depth work demands emotional literacy and endurance, right? So depth work is not about feeling better, it's about feeling accurately. So what Leviathan requires is naming emotions without spiritual excuses, staying present while uncomfortable states pass through, and recognizing patterns instead of moralizing them. Emotional literacy means you can identify what you're experiencing without panic. Endurance means you don't flee the moment it hurts or contradicts your self-image. Most people never build this skill set. They decorate around it, right? Most people aren't able to deal with anything that contradicts what they believe that they are. They're not capable of saying, okay, hold on a second. Let's examine this. Let's look at this. Let's integrate now. They run away from it. They get angry. They get pissed off. You come up with anything, any idea that contradicts what somebody believes themselves to be, whew, not going to be a good day. Not going to be a good day for you or them, right? And so stress exposes structure, right? When something goes wrong, the nervous system takes over. Mantras don't help if the foundation is avoidance, right? Like if you live your entire life avoiding stressful situations, when the inevitability happens and comes and there's a stressful situation that you cannot avoid, you cannot get around, what do you think's going to happen? You're gonna fucking crack because you can't deal with it. Because your entire life has been built around avoiding shit. Right? So, high vibration, right? So this is why high vibration only fails under stress, right? So high vibration thinking fails because it confuses suppression with transcendence. It treats emotions as containments or contaminants. It has no mechanism for grief, rage, or fear. Like, light workers are full of shit. Like, this is why I've had so many tangents about these fucking idiots, these love and light fucking jackasses that are on the internet. Fuck you and your fucking love and light bullshit. You're a cop-out and a fraud. Go fuck yourself. Okay? Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like I think anything that focuses on one side of something because it sounds pretty, because that's aesthetic. Think about it. Right? Light workers, love and light. It's focusing on one side of existence as a fucking marketing ploy. Like, let's be fucking logical. Like, let's be real. Okay, let's peel away the bullshit and let's be real. Anything that focuses on one side because of its aesthetic, it would be the same thing. You say love and light, well, hate and darkness then? Is that the antonym to that? Right? Even if there was a path that was called hate and darkness, which I'm sure there's probably some jackass out there spinning that one off, right? Even with that, it's just as much bullshit as the other one. Anything that wants to sit there and sell you living in one aspect of life and focusing only on that, it's marketing. It's fucking marketing. Like, if you listen to these love and light workers, these jackassy little fucking gnomes as they run around and spin their web of bullshit. They talk about high vibrational energy and low vibrational energy, right? And how do they talk about these things? High vibrational energy is good. Low vibrational energy is bad. Everything is in a concept of duality. Duality exists not as the end all be all, but rather it exists to understand the extremes of a spectrum. And I believe that everything, almost everything in life exists on a spectrum. So if we look at, for example, we look at the seasons. Let's use nature as an example, right? We have winter and we have summer. These are the opposite ends of a spectrum. It's not 4 blocks. It's 4 points within a phase change. Winter, spring, fall, right? Winter, spring, summer, fall, right? I completely fucked that up. Fall, winter, spring, summer, right? So it's a phase change. It's a spectrum. And it doesn't just switch over, right? It doesn't just go fall, winter, spring, summer, right? It doesn't do that. It doesn't just boom, done, right? No, it gradually changes, right? From winter to spring, temperatures slowly begin to kind of rise. They begin to move upward, right? And then spring hits in full swing. And then the temperatures continue to rise. They continue to get a little bit higher. The sun stays out a little bit longer. It gets hotter during the day. Boom, summer. It's a gradual change. They're breaking anything down into a duality and focusing only on the duality that exists, the two opposite ends of a spectrum, right? Makes no fucking sense. It makes no fucking sense. Okay. And I didn't fuck that up, did I? No, it's just winter, spring, summer, fall. Yeah, that's not fucking it up, but you know, it was fucked up in my head for some reason. So everything exists on that spectrum. It's not to say that duality doesn't exist. It does, but the duality exists to explain the spectrum that the things exist on. When you look at only high vibrational, low vibrational energy, you're ignoring the nuance, right? There's a nuance to these things, okay? And I'm going to be completely honest. I personally believe the whole concept of high vibrational energy and low vibrational energy is fucking bullshit, right? There's fucking energy, and there's your interpretation of it. And the reason I think all of these types of things are bullshit is because, again, they are marketing ploys. They want you to focus on one side of it. They want you to focus on the parts that are happy and go lucky and whatever, right? Just because I have a personal dark aesthetic, that has nothing to do with the shit that I believe in. It doesn't. My aesthetic is because I like fucking gothic metal and rock and painting my nails black and wearing fucking eyeliner, and I like dark black clothing. That's my aesthetic. Does that make me a miserable fucking piece of shit? I'd like to think not. Right? I don't think my kids think that. I don't think my wife thinks that. So, you know, it is what it is, right? So the point of all of this is that I do think that these love and light workers, whatever the fuck, it is marketing. That is what it is. It is marketing. It has been marketing. It will always be marketing. Okay. So high vibration thinking fails because it confuses suppression with transcendence. It treats emotions as contaminants, and it has no mechanism for grief, rage, or fear. It doesn't deal with it. Right? Under real stress, suppressed material surfaces fast and unfiltered. That's when people implode, lash out, or spiritually dissociate while insisting they're fine. Leviathan doesn't promise calm. It promises coherence, right? And emotional bypassing versus emotional integration is another thing with the high vibrational fucking energy people, is that's emotional bypassing, right? So bypassing skips the work, integration does the work. Bypassing looks like explaining pain instead of feeling it, reframing harm before it's processed, and forgiving before understanding. And the biggest one here is explaining pain instead of feeling it. Instead of actually allowing yourself to go through something and actually feel what it is that you're feeling without knowing why you're feeling it or understanding it 100%, right? You need to explain it away. Why do you feel that way? And then, like, for some reason, when you have a reason, like, it makes it easier. Integration is letting emotion complete its cycle, extracting information from the feeling, and allowing contradiction without self-betrayal. Leviathan is the refusal to shortcut. Depth insists that nothing moves forward until it's metabolized. Right? And why trauma ignored becomes identity. So unprocessed trauma doesn't stay isolated, it becomes architecture. Ignored trauma shapes how you react under stress, what you tolerate, what you fear losing, who you think you are. People mistake these adaptations for personality. They defend them. They spiritualize them. This is what we see in love and light workers and shit like that, as we see this type of stuff. Okay, and also in the professional victim. The professional victim does the same thing here. They build entire identities around wounds they refuse to examine. Leviathan work exposes this without comforting language. What you call just who I am is often just unresolved pressure. Right? People wanting without weight. They want insight that doesn't slow them down. They want clarity without consequence. Leviathan adds weight. Weight makes you move carefully. Weight makes lies collapse. Weight reveals what's actually strong. That's why it's avoided. Not because it's dark, but because it's honest. People don't like honesty. At least self-honesty. Okay, so now the next part here that we're going to be talking about, kind of the meat and potatoes of this. Leviathan and the psychology of becoming, right? So Jungian shadow and the unconscious. Again, we're going to get into Carl Jung here, right? So Carl Jung is probably like just one of those things that, like, he's just one of those people that you just can't get away from when it comes to this stuff. You just really can't. So the shadow is not your evil twin, as a lot of people would have it framed. It's everything excluded from the conscious self-image. Jung was clear on this. The shadow forms when traits, impulses, and emotions are judged as unacceptable. They don't vanish. They recollect to the unconscious and operate indirectly. Leviathan's territory. The unconscious is not irrational, it's unacknowledged. It communicates through repetition, projection, compulsion, emotional overreaction. Depth work is learning to read that language without panicking or moralizing. Disciple, exactly. I would definitely put it that way. Working with Leviathan in this context is definitely transforming the unknown. Okay? Levy, welcome, welcome, welcome. So, the unconscious, right? So we just went through that, right? Repetition, projection, compulsion, and emotional reaction. So emotional memory stored semantically. So emotion lives in the body before it ever becomes a thought. Neuroscience backs this up. The amygdala encodes threats faster than cognition. The body reacts before the mind explains. Memory is stored as sensation, posture, and reflex. This is why insight alone doesn't fix anything. You can understand a trauma and still flinch, freeze, or rage when the trigger hits. Leviathan work engages the body, breath, posture, sensation, right? Without that, you're just narrating your wounds instead of integrating them. And this is like a big part of like the whole shadow work thing, right? And this is, I think, the problem with like kind of like modern spirituality and like the social media cultist and social media shadow work. Everybody talks about fucking shadow work. And they think doing a couple of card readings and talking about, you know, the shit that they've dealt with, for some reason, talking about it is like, that's shadow work. I mean, it's a part of it. You identify shit, but that's not the actual work. That's just giving a label to the shadow. That's not actually working it, right? So actual work is going through by engaging those reactions, engaging the body, the breath, the posture, sensations, right? So you're not just talking about your wounds, you're actually integrating them. And integration versus suppression. Suppression is containment without awareness. Integration is containment with ownership. So suppressed material is leaks under stress, distorts perception, controls behavior indirectly. Integrated material, it loses its charge, becomes available as information, and stops hijacking your nervous system. Leviathan doesn't erase emotion, it organizes it. Right? And so why does unresolved material resurface repeatedly? The unconscious repeats until it's heard. Patterns persist because the nervous system seeks resolution. Unintegrated material wants completion, and avoidance teaches the psyche nothing. People call this bad luck or spiritual attack. It's neither. It's unfinished business running on a loop. Leviathan work breaks the loop by staying present long enough for the system to update. Depth work creates coherence, not happiness. This is another thing with the Infernal Compass, the life coaching. And maybe why it's only a select few people that actually go into the system. Because with Infernal Compass, like a lot of self-help gurus or life coaching or whatever, there's this promise of getting rich or having the perfect life or being more grateful or appreciating things more, something. There's always some tagline or some emotional thing that is, you know, like sold in life coaching circles that promises you something that's just not realistic. And so when I built Infernal Compass, the idea with Infernal Compass was not to promise you anything, was not to say that you're guaranteed to get this if you go through this and you do the work and you do everything that I tell you to do, because it doesn't work that way. The Infernal Compass is about giving you a system that you can repeatedly use in the most difficult parts of your life. That's what the Infernal Compass is about. And there's no promise, and there's no guarantee, and there's no, there's no nothing attached to it, because it's real, it's raw, it's unfiltered, it's it's if you do the fucking work, you'll get something out of it. But if you don't expect miracles if you're going to be lazy and you're not going to do the fucking work. If you're not going to do the fucking work, then you're going to have to deal with the consequences of it not working for you. And if there's one thing about me, if you look at the Infernal Compass, you look at the Infernal Covenant, it's all about accountability, isn't it? It's all about responsibility. It's all about you. And it's all about what you do and what you do that's right and what you do that's wrong and how you live your life and taking responsibility for your shit. And people don't like that. People don't like to have their decisions thrown in their fucking face. People don't want to be at fault. People don't want to change. They want change, but they don't want to do anything to make it happen. And accept their responsibility in the process. They just don't want to. They're not interested. They don't care. It's unattractive. Even Leor and Pip, like the children's series that I'm building in connection to the whole infernal system. And make no mistake, it's an entire system. It's like the only way I know how to describe it is the infernal system. You have the parenting aspect, the aspect for the kids, the adolescents and the teenagers. You have the Infernal Compass, which is for the adults, for refocusing. And then you have the Infernal Covenant, which is essentially kind of the umbrella that everything falls under. And the whole thing all together, all of it together, the only way I know how to describe it is it's the infernal system. And what is the infernal system about? It's not about putting out your energy or getting energy from something else. It's not about spirituality. It's about decisions. It's about choices. It's about who the fuck are you? And what are you going to do about it? And this is why, and make no mistake, this isn't like some elite system. It's not something that only a few people are allowed to have access to. Everyone's allowed access to it. Infernal Covenant's free. I'm building that part on the website right now. Everybody will be able to download the entire Infernal Covenant PDF for free. Become a part of it for free. Like, there's no membership fees. There's nothing, it's just is what it is, right? But at the same time, it is something only for the few. Because most people are not ready to accept that level of personal accountability and live their lives under the oath of the Infernal Covenant. It is an oath that most people are not ready to make. And that's just a fact. That's just truth. Most people are not ready for the Infernal Covenant. Most people will never be ready for the Infernal Covenant. Most people have no place in the Infernal Covenant. Not because I say so, but because their life choices, the decisions that they make, their behaviors do not reflect that of the covenant. And it is because of their own choices, their own decisions, that dictates that they have no place. Exactly, Maeve. Anyone can take the oath and be a part of the covenant. Anyone, doesn't matter who it is. Everyone can do it. But if you don't live the path, You're not staying in it. You're not staying part of it. You'll fall out of it. And that's very much a Leviathan thing. Because it is your conviction to the oath, to the covenant, to the ideals that exist in that covenant and in that oath of how you live your life and how those around you fall into the folds of your life. Most people aren't ready. Most people will never be ready. You know, and so the infernal system by design is to provide everything possible for everyone to be a part of it as a whole, starting with kids, with children, building those values, those ideals. Since they're little, making it easier for them to take something like the covenant and being able to stay inside of the covenant. And those that really truly want to live that style of life, that accountability and that power that comes with it. There's the infernal compass, which is a path correction. It's all you. But once you are able to correct that path, correct that direction, and turn yourself into an immovable force through that depth and that work, you always have a permanent place inside of the infernal covenant. And that's the concept, that's the idea, isn't it? Great things happen when you're able to have that level of accountability. But again, it's all about the self, isn't it? There's no promises of money and fame, and there's no delusions of grandeur. It's quite simply being the best version of yourself that you can possibly be, simply because it's the right thing to do. That's what it is. That's all it is. It's not a spiritual path. It's not a religion. It's not. It doesn't demand allegiance to anyone but yourself. If you think about it, Leviathan Satanists love to say that they have allegiance to themselves, but who do they pledge allegiance to? The Church of Satan, the Anton LaVey, Satanic Temple, same thing. They give allegiance to the temple and the temple's ideals. Catholics do it with the church. Most Abrahamic faiths do it with some form of God. They give allegiance to God, to Jesus, to Muhammad, to who the fuck ever. And the Infernal Covenant only asks that you give allegiance to yourself. Not me. Not even the covenant itself, but to yourself. But in the most radical way possible. Within the understanding and the knowing that your actions are the reason why your life is the way it is. Your choices, your decisions, your actions, your movements, everything that you have done up until today, up until the moment that you realize that the position that you're in and the life that you're leading, that you don't want to be leading, is because you put yourself there. And it forces the understanding that the only person that's going to get you out is you. I mean, you know, right? So all of that rabbit hole was down on the basis that depth work creates coherence, not happiness. Happiness is a mood. Coherence is alignment. Depth work doesn't guarantee pleasure. It guarantees consistency. Your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions begin to agree with each other. That's why depth practitioners often seem calm without being cheerful. Their inner world is no longer at war with itself. Leviathan produces fewer highs and fewer collapses. For people addicted to emotional spikes, that feels like death. It's not. It's maturity. Stability is forged, it's not discovered. You don't find stability by uncovering. I've heard this a lot. Right? Oh, I found stability. You didn't fucking find stability. You made stability. You created stability, right? So you don't find stability by uncovering some true self buried inside you. Stability is built through repeated exposure to discomfort, conscious regulation under pressure, honest self-observation. Leviathan is the forge. Pressure and time do the work. You don't emerge enlightened. You emerge reliable. Something most people aren't really. Most people aren't reliable in any meaningful way, are they? Depth increases emotional range without emotional collapse. Shallow systems narrow emotion to avoid pain. Depth expands tolerance. So with depth work, you feel more without losing control. You experience intensity without fragmentation, and you respond instead of react. This is the difference between being sensitive and being fragile. Leviathan doesn't numb you. It gives you the capacity to remain intact while feeling fully. That is real psychological power. So understand that difference between sensitivity, being sensitive, and being fragile. So ritual, descent, and staying submerged, right? So ritual function. Ritual is structured descent. Ritual is not performance. It is architecture. A Leviathan ritual creates a controlled environment where descent happens on purpose instead of by accident. You are not opening yourself up. You are entering a defined space with limits, intention, and an exit, which is important. Structure matters because depth without structure becomes overwhelming. The unconscious does not need chaos to surface. It needs permission and containment. A proper descent includes a clear opening, defined duration, and a deliberate closing. If you skip any of these, you're not doing depth work. You're stirring pressure and walking away from it. So, symbolic containment for emotional pressure. Symbols in this sense are not decoration, right? They are compression tools. Leviathan symbolism creates a psychological container that allows heavy emotional material to emerge without flooding the system. Water, depth, darkness, and enclosure give the mind somewhere to put what surfaces. Containment prevents dissociation, emotional spirals, post-ritual instability. Without containment, the psyche keeps the material active. With containment, it can be processed gradually. This is why improvisational feel your feelings spirituality fails at depth. It opens valves with no reservoir. And then why repetition with this matters. Depth does not respond to novelty. It responds to consistency. So the depth we're not talking about like a moment of motivation and I'm going to change my life. This is the hard shit, guys. This isn't the easy stuff. This is the stuff that fucking hurts, right? When you start to get into it. And if you don't get into it right, it hurts more. Right? So again, depth does not respond to novelty. It responds to consistency. Repetition tells the nervous system this space is safe. This process is predictable. This descent has a return path. Each repetition lowers resistance. The psyche stops guarding as aggressively. Material that refuses to surface before begins to move. If you only do a ritual once, you didn't do depth work. You introduced yourself and left. Okay? So, Leviathan rituals are slow and cumulative. Nothing about Leviathan is instant. Each working adds pressure, deepens access, refines perception. You won't have cinematic visions every time. Most sessions are quiet, subtle shifts in memory, mood, or reaction show up days later. And I know that from experience. And that's how you know it's working. If you're chasing spectacle, you're in the wrong fucking current. You're in the wrong direction. Right. And the thing is I think this is one of the things we need to start fucking moving away from is like this spectacle of instant gratification, because we're constantly surrounded by it, which is one of the reasons why I think society and people in society have so many fucking problems. Is because we're chasing like this instant gratification. We want things like we want what we want before we want it, and we want it yesterday. Right. And it's like, how do you expect to have a stable, meaningful existence that way? You can't. It's impossible. Right? Journaling and post-ritual grounding are mandatory in this. Journaling is not optional reflection. It is integration technology. Writing anchors or things like talking about memory, meaning, and insight. Without it, material floats. Grounding completes the circuit. Eat, walk, shower, touch some fucking grass. I don't know. Signal to the nervous system that the descent is over. Skipping grounding is how people stay half submerged and wonder why they feel off for days. Most people, like, and I think grounding and reflection is important after any and all rituals. Like, for me, this is a mandatory thing. After a ritual, take notes. Then do something to ground yourself after the ritual. Any ritual, all rituals. If you want to know what I do, that's what I do. Right? So either in my phone, and a piece of paper, book shadows, whatever, you know, get one of these little book shadows. Right? And journaling for reflection and grounding for closing the circuit, finishing it off, shutting it down, saying, okay, this is up, we're done, right? Okay. So it's something that I do all the time, right? So insight without integration destabilizes. So insight is not transformation, it's exposure. Seeing something without metabolizing it increases pressure. The psyche now knows something it cannot yet hold. It creates anxiety, agitation, and identity instability. Leviathan demands digestion, right? If you don't change behavior, regulation, or boundaries afterward, insight becomes noise. Doesn't do anything for you. Uncovering shit and doing nothing with it doesn't do anything for you, right? If you cannot return functional, you descended wrong. Depth work is not supposed to make you non-operational. If after ritual you are disoriented, unable to regulate emotion, detached from daily reality, then the container failed. Either the descent was too deep, too fast, or improperly closed. Leviathan does not destroy functionality, it refines it. You are not meant to return heavier, not broken. You're meant to return heavier, not broken. More present, not lost. If you come back worse than you entered, that's not initiation, that's negligence. And, yeah, I mean, we kind of went over kind of like the pillar system and all of that already, you know, which is the next part. I kind of did that earlier. We talked about like Leviathan's position on the pillar system in the Infernal Compass and why Leviathan is there. So yeah, so this is, I thought was interesting and important to talk about because a lot of practitioners, I don't think, talk about the work in this way, right? The way that it's supposed to be talked about, the way that it's supposed to be, you know, understood. Like we're chasing spectacle, we're chasing Hollywood most of the time, and it's to nobody's benefit but to everybody's detriment. So I do hope that this little rundown of Leviathan, you know, a lot of you have found this helpful to some degree, and hopefully it'll help your work. And here's another thing. So you can include Leviathan-esque aspects to rituals with other entities as well. Like, and I think it's important that you do so. So if you do work with Lilith or with Lucifer, or with Baphomet or Amen or anything of that nature, turning to the ideal of Leviathan during that, I think, can help you take advantage of the work that you're doing with other entities. So there's that. One final plug, by the way. So Dyer and I ordered some more ritual flags from the website, from blackmagicdyer.com. Kind of like a Christmas gift to ourselves. So we got Belial, Lucifer, Astaroth, and Bune. Guys, these fucking flags are amazing. Like, I love these fucking things. I put the Lucifer one up on my altar, and I wish I took a picture of it to show you guys. This thing's fucking massive. And I just love how it looks. Like, I think out of all the physical items that we sell, I think that the ritual flags are honestly the most functional that we have product we've developed. And you know, the prints are amazing, the quality is great, you know, and again, like having them all be the same size, you know, is great for switching out when you're doing ritual with a different entity. And like if you guys like notice if there's like an entity that you want included into the ritual flag, what do you want to call it, roster, like just let us know. You know, I mean, eventually we're looking to have like all 72 goetic demons, and then potentially like, you know, starting to include like Sumerian and other stuff like that. But like these things are just fucking beautiful, man. Like, I mean, I just think that they're fucking amazing. And like, I'm so surprised at the print quality, especially for what they cost. So if you guys do active rituals and you have a ritual space in your house, or if you just want them for decoration, like I think that they're the most functional thing that we have. Yeah, I mean, there's some Sumerian stuff that I've seen that I think would be nice to have, you know, available. I mean, I personally wouldn't use them, but you know, I mean, I'm sure there are people that would. But I'm just very excited and very proud of them. Because it was one of the things that I've always run into a problem when it comes to, you know, sigil flags, right, or flags with sigils on them, is for some fucking reason everybody wants to put the sigil going horizontal, and it's not conducive to ritual, to using them for ritual. Yeah, if you want to hang it outside your house, I guess it works fine, but you know, so something as simple as, you know, making it vertical, you know, making the sigil face vertically, is just a fucking game changer. And they're huge, man. Like, I mean, obviously they're the size of a normal flag, right? I think they're like 3 foot by 5 foot, but like the sigils themselves are significantly, they're massive. And being able to just switch out, like saying, like, you know, tonight I need to do a ritual with so-and-so and whatever, and just being able to pop it off and pop another one on without having to fandangle or fuck around with, you know, sizing and shit like that, you know, like having a tapestry that's like, you know, just a different size, you know, it's really good. I mean, like we have it, you know, there's a little rack inside the closet in the ritual room that we have, you know, I guess you could call it a, you know, small temple, you know, and we just have the flags just kind of draped over a pole, and we can just kind of go in and just grab whichever flag we need, and boom, done. And, you know, regardless of the altar, if it's Dyra's altar or my altar, because our altar space are in the same room, you know, it's fucking amazing. I'm so proud of these fucking flags. And yeah, so if you guys do active ritual work or anything like that, I would just go look at them. If there's a goetic demon or entity that's not there that you'd like to have, you know, let us know. Shoot us an email or, you know, a message or something, and we'd be more than happy to produce it. Lucifer one's my favorite because the way the Lucifer thing is, I just put the Lucifer sigil, the one that I designed without the pentagram. I can't even show that to you, right? Apparently. There we go. I guess. There we go. Oh my goodness, fucking microphone. Anyway, so I designed that without the pentagram, just the Lucifer sigil. I just put it full fucking flag length. And oh my God, it looks so fucking amazing. It really does. So yeah, so there's that. Again, Book of Baphomet, Conversations with the Horned One. January 13th is the release date. So hope you guys are excited for that. And then February, March should be the first half of Leora and Pip being available for parents. So there's a system. It's not just books for kids. There's an entire system that helps walk parents through how to use the books to teach their kids the values that are being shown in the books, what each book is about, why certain topics are discussed, what the point is behind each one. There's an entire guide that comes with each book specifically for parents. Yeah, it's the Infernal System, guys. Infernal Compass, the Infernal Covenant, and, you know, Leora and Pip. I will not call it Infernal Kids because that's just, you know, it's bad marketing. It's bad PR. You know, yeah. Tree Sap, welcome. So yeah, that's that, guys. Tree Sap, thank you for popping in. You're right in the ass end. We're just ending just now. Yeah, guys, I don't know what it is I'm building, but I feel like there's a call happening here. There's a direction I'm being pushed in to make all of this stuff. And everything ties into everything else. And I just, it's good. Never in time. Like, I just feel like the system that's being built, this infernal system, is just like, I feel like that there's something, I don't want to say that there's some otherworldly force that is like calling me to do this, but like it damn near feels that way. And I feel like I'm building something that needs to be built, that needs to be created. And I just hope that you guys get from it something useful for your lives. Yeah. Anyway, with that being said, that is going to be it. We are done for the day. You guys are fucking amazing. Thank you for being here. Even the guys that came in late, it's so appreciative. Happy bloody screaming birthday, disciple. No worries. You're not 1 year older. You're just 1 year closer to death. So my dad used to tell me. Not very reassuring, but anyway, thank you all. You guys are fucking amazing. And as always, hail thy fucking self. See you in the next one. Peace the fuck out.